Part 12. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 111. The medicine boy was running out of breath. When he saw Zhang's Hiluo, his eyes instantly lit up, as if he saw hope. Zhang's Hiluo was doing business when she suddenly heard the medicine boy's words and looked at his anxious look and said, "What's wrong?" The medicine boy said hurriedly, "Ms. Zhang, it's an urgent matter. Can you please take a moment to speak?" The medicine boy's eyes were red. Looking at the medicine boy like this, Zhang's Hiluo no longer cares about doing business. "Mom, let me go over and take a look." Mrs. Kui nodded and said, "Yeah, let's go. Just leave it to me. I can be busy." Zhang's Hiluo followed the medicine boy to the side. The medicine boy choked and said, "Ms. Zhang, go and have a look. The young master is seriously injured and has an illness. He is dying. We, the doctors at Exiled Pavilion, have no choice but to ask Mrs. Zhang to help us take a look and save our young master's family. Nothing will happen to our young master's family. The people in their medical clinic all like Xiaodongjia. Although Xiaodongjia is sometimes not in good health, he has a gentle temperament and is very kind to everyone. He is a medicine boy, but he is actually a person rescued by the young master's family. If it weren't for Xiaodong's family, he would have frozen to death in the heavy snow. Ms. Zhang, our young master is a good person. He has saved many of us." When the medicine boy spoke, his face was pale and he looked scared. Zhang's Hiluo's expression changed. "How could you be injured? Didn't you go looking for medicinal materials before?" Zhang's Hiluo's expression tightened, and she didn't bother to ask further questions. She hurriedly followed the medicine boy to the Exiled Pavilion, and then followed her to the second floor. There were several people in well-dressed clothes standing outside the room on the second floor. They had weapons on their waists and looked fully armed. They stood there coldly, as if they were guarding the room. Whether you look at their clothes or feel the aura emanating from their bodies, these are no ordinary guards. The young master of the Exiled family is actually protected by such a master. It seems a bit unreasonable when I think about it. But Zhang's Hiluo knows the principle of survival well, that is, don't ask what you shouldn't ask, and pretend you don't know anything to protect yourself wisely. After being brought into the room, Zhang's Hiluo smelled the smell of blood. There were several people standing in the room. An old doctor was taking Zhuang Xing'an's pulse. Another old doctor looked at the arrow on Zhuang Xing'an and sighed, "The arrow's position is too off-center, and it's also a famous barbed sword. When pulling it out, it's slightly if something goes wrong, Mr. Zhuang will be dead. But if you don't draw the sword and let the blood flow like this, the young master's body will get colder and colder, and the poison will attack and he will die. The two old doctors are in trouble." At this moment, the medicine boy said, "Miss Zhang is here." The words of the medicine boy made some people in the room look over at once. Is this person someone the young master trusts? Xiaodong's family was seriously injured and unconscious. They secretly brought in several doctors, but nothing could be done. There is an old doctor next to him. He is a famous miracle doctor in Bizhu. Because of his good medical skills, he is praised by others, so that he is a bit arrogant. What, Mr. Zhuang is in such a dangerous situation, how can he invite such a young lady to come? Isn't this child's play? Dr. Chiu smiled and said, "Don't be angry, old Dr. Wu, Miss Jiang's medical skills are better than mine." Dr. Chiu has seen Zhang's Hiluo's superb medical skills more than once. Moreover, the Xiaodong family was suffering from severe illnesses. The Xiaodong family asked Miss Zhang to take a look at it before. Ms. Zhang can tell you the detailed problems of the young master's family. Furthermore, the stable and conservative prescription prescribed has made Xiaodong's family much better. Nonsense, you and I both know how serious Mr. Zhuang's situation is now. Don't say that Mr. Zhuang's body is already poisonous. In addition, he was seriously injured. This barbed arrow is not something ordinary people would dare to pull out. If something goes wrong, if she is given treatment, can she be held responsible? Master Zhuang's life is very valuable, and it is not something that an ordinary young lady can afford. If something happens, no one can afford it. The old Dr. Wu's face was solemn. If a person is put to death and word spreads that he was present, his brand will be destroyed. Old Dr. Wu was naturally angry. I just feel that the people at Xinglan Hall do things so erratically. Besides, he always felt that Mr. Zhuang was not as simple as a young master, and nothing could happen to him. Old Dr. Wu also felt troubled when he saw Zhuang Xing'an's serious situation. Zhang Ziluo's expression changed after listening to the old doctor's words. The young master of this medical clinic seemed to have a secret. But she is not one to pry into other people's secrets. Zhang Ziluo said coldly, "Get out of the way." The old Dr. Wu became even more angry when he saw a young lady treating him like this. "This is not a place for you to mess around." Zhang Ziluo said coldly, "Then I would like to ask this old doctor, are you sure you can cure him? If you say yes, then of course I won't mess around." The old Dr. Wu's face turned livid when Zhang Ziluo asked him this question. "Ignorant boy, you dare to ask this? Not even the imperial doctors in the capital dare to say that you are confident about this kind of injury. You know what, we're trying to figure it out." Zhang Ziluo sneered and said, "If you think of a way, you are delaying time and not treating it quickly. Didn't you see that his condition is getting more and more serious? By the time you figure out a solution, he may die from a toxic attack, not to mention excessive blood loss." "But I can answer the question you just asked. I can cure it. If something goes wrong, I can also take responsibility." Zhang Ziluo took a brief look and saw that the arrow was indeed very close to the heart. Infusing the wood power into her eyes, she can see the specific location of the barbed arrow, and she can pull it out without touching her heart. When Zhang Ziluo said this, everyone present was stunned. No doctor would dare to say something like that. Just when everyone was in a daze, Zhang Ziluo had already stepped forward. She checked quickly, then took out the silver needle and pierced Zhuang Xing'an's body. When she used silver needles for acupuncture just now, her fingers were like after images, making it difficult to see. Everyone was stunned when they looked at this hand. Dru looked at it, his eyes were bright and his hands were trembling with excitement. Zhang Ziluo injected some wood-type abilities to suppress the cold poison that had broken out in Zhuang Xing'an's body. He seemed to hear some noise, or maybe it was the wood power that made him a little conscious. He slowly opened his eyes and saw Zhang Ziluo beside the bed, and whispered, "I'm sorry, Miss Zhang." Although Zhuang Xing'an's voice was very weak, the room was already quiet at this time, and everyone could hear his words clearly. This is what the young master ordered, and naturally no one dared to object. Just a little shocked that the young master believed in this young lady so much. The old Dr. Wu was a little angry. He originally wanted to take the things and leave, but when he saw the hand of the little girl in front of him, he stopped again and looked at it intently. Zhang Ziluo said seriously, "Don't worry, you will be fine. As long as the arrow does not hit the heart, you will be fine. Even barbed arrows are no problem. Dear little cuties, let me update one chapter first. I am really not feeling well, so I can only continue to update during the day. Don't worry, I will update more if I have the energy." The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 112. Zhang Ziluo has a confident and calm look from beginning to end. Zhuang Xing'an was still groggy at this time and had little consciousness, but he was vaguely listening to Zhang Ziluo's words and her voice. For some reason, he felt very trusting. Perhaps there is a convincing power in her. Perhaps I have seen her superb medical skills before. In short, Zhuang Xing'an felt somewhat at ease at this time. Zhuang Xing'an said weakly, "Thank you very much." Zhang Ziluo said, "You'd better talk less if you look like this." In fact, Zhuang Xing'an couldn't fall asleep at all, and the pain in the arrow belt at the eccentric position was so clear. Zhang Ziluo hurriedly said, "Go and prepare a knife, hot water, wine, and needle and thread." Zhang Ziluo said some things that needed to be prepared, and Dr. Chiu hurriedly asked people to prepare them. Zhang Ziluo looked at Zhuang Xing'an and was shocked to see him injured and covered in blood. He must be in pain, but even though his face was pale and sweating, he still held back the pain and didn't make any sound. Zhang Ziluo's expression changed, and she said softly, "It will hurt for a while, please bear with it, and scream out if it hurts. There is no anesthetic in this era. If there were anesthetic, Zhuang Xing'an would not feel pain when he pulled out the arrow." Thinking of this, Zhang Ziluo thought about the opportunity to prepare anesthetics. Zhuang Xing'an nodded weakly. Zhang Ziluo saw that everything was ready and started to draw the arrow. Just to make sure there was no problem, Zhang Ziluo still used some wood-type abilities. The faces of the people around him changed when they saw Zhang Ziluo's actions. At this moment, everyone held their breath. But in an instant, with a poof sound, the arrow was pulled out and blood spurted out. Zhang Ziluo's body was inevitably splattered with blood. "Don't worry, your heart is fine." Zhang Ziluo's words made everyone in the room breathe a sigh of relief. The most difficult problem is to draw the sword, so few bosses are fine. However, Zhuang Xing'an did faint from the pain at this time. After saying this, Zhang Ziluo didn't care about anything else and hurriedly treated Zhuang Xing'an's wound. After treating the wound, she even used needle and thread to sew the wound. Dr. Chiu was so shocked that his whole body was filled with excitement. He stared carefully with his eyes wide open, for fear of missing any details. Old Dr. Wu looked on in shock. "You're actually sewing this Mr. Zhuang's clothes like you're sewing." Old Dr. Wu was so angry that he couldn't help but speak out. Zhang Ziluo didn't care at all and continued to do it. Dr. Chiu hurriedly said, "Old Dr. Wu, I think the bleeding really stopped with this stitch." Old Dr. Wu's face was ashen and he said, "You are confused, are these threads still sewn into Mr. Zhuang's body?" Zhang Ziluo didn't say anything. After the stitches were sutured, she said calmly, "The stitches will naturally need to be removed when the wound has grown." Zhang Ziluo almost said that the old doctor was too pedantic and didn't know how to adapt. However, the doctor who can be invited here must have good medical skills. The doctors are all good in different fields, so Zhang Ziluo didn't say much. The old Dr. Wu's face was livid at first. After hearing these words, he was stunned again. He stepped forward and looked at the wound that had been stitched up. He was stunned. Zhang Ziluo sewed up the wound, bandaged it for Zhuang Xing'an, and told her some precautions. The old doctor stepped forward to check, and after taking Zhuang Xing'an's pulse, he was shocked. "It's really stable. Nothing hurts the heart at all." He was shocked in his heart. The little lady has superb medical skills, but I was too old and pedantic just now. I apologize to the little lady. Zhang Ziluo said calmly, "Old doctor, there is no need to apologize. This is just to deal with external injuries. Some wounds can be sewn in this way to stop bleeding. As long as the wound has healed, the stitches can be removed." The old doctor listened carefully and felt that he had learned a lot from this trip. Even at such a young age, this young lady was calm when dealing with such serious injuries. This kind of stability and calmness is not something ordinary people can achieve. After explaining some things, Zhang Ziluo was ready to go back. Dr. Chiu hurriedly said, "Ms. Zhang, your clothes are stained with blood, so it may be difficult for you to go out." Zhang Ziluo shook her head and said, "It's okay. There's a little stain on my clothes. The color is so dark that I can't tell what it is. Just wash off the blood on my face and it'll be fine." Zhang Ziluo washed her face and hands, took care of things, took the 20 taels of silver given by Zhuang Xing'an's men and left. Zhang Ziluo looked at the 20 taels of silver in her hand, somewhat lost in thought. Originally, it was only 16 taels of silver. But Dru asked someone to give him 20 taels of silver. 20 taels of silver for a consultation is considered a lot in the town. Even if Zhang Ziluo saves someone, she won't ask for medical fees. She always asks prices according to the market conditions in the town. Besides, even when treating wounds, pulling out arrows and prescribing medicine, she doesn't come up with the medicine. These pieces of silver are enough. Although she wants to make money, she is also a gentleman who loves money and gets it in a wise way. But with these 20 taels of silver, the family can indeed feel much more relaxed. She can build a house easily. After building a big house, she wants to make the yard look the way she likes. Get some cobblestones to pave the ground. But I still want to cure Kui Hejin's health as soon as possible. Although she would wait for Kui Hejin to fall asleep every few days, she would quietly use the wood power to recuperate his body. But it only treats the symptoms, not the root cause. If you want to completely cure Kui Hejin's body, you must find enough medicinal materials according to the prescription. However, she believed that she could cure Kui Hejin. Kui Hejin's health is much better now. He doesn't cough as often as he did at the beginning. He would wake up coughing in the middle of the night, and his body sometimes alternates between hot and cold. It is no longer like that now. He can sleep well, eat well, and rest well. There are very few coughs. Thinking of this, Zhang Ziluo looked up at the sky and felt that the sunshine was very bright. She saw that it was already noon, so she put the money away and hurried to the stall on the other side of the pier. I don't know what's going on with my mother, can she be busy? Zhang Ziluo walked quickly over there and arrived at the pier. From a distance, she saw a lot of people gathered in front of their stall, 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. Most of them are women and little ladies. Especially some young ladies were gathering around excitedly and didn't know what to say. Zhang Ziluo was even surprised, isn't that true? Is business so hot? Perhaps there is still a lot of traffic at the pier, so people will come to the pier to set up stalls and do business in the future. Just when she walked over, she heard what the young ladies were talking about. It's really beautiful. Yes, I have never seen such a beautiful person. Even if he is wearing coarse linen clothes, he still looks like a natural cloud. It's a real person, not an illusion, it's so beautiful. These are the 2 pot helmets I bought. He just handed them to me personally. He is so good looking even when he is not smiling. If he smiles, he looks so good looking it would make people faint. His movements look so clean and elegant, it's so pleasing to the eye. He must be from a wealthy family. Zhang Ziluo walked over and was stunned when she heard these words. Who are they talking about? Her mind could not help but flash the elegant figure of Kui Hejin. Could she be talking about Kui Hejin? End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 113. Chapter 113 Asking for Help, 3rd update. Zhang Ziluo was suspicious. Usually, she and Mrs. Kui set up stalls and did business without Kui Hejin's help. He was also in the school. Is it possible that I am here at the stall today? For some reason, Zhang Ziluo felt an indescribable feeling when she thought of Kui Hejin here. I have obviously seen him this morning, so I shouldn't want to see him so soon. Zhang Ziluo wanted to go inside, but was squeezed out. No, hey, give it a try. These women are too crazy. Zhang Ziluo was squeezed out every time she tried to pull her in. Hey, this is my stall. The women and girls were chattering, and they were surrounded by 3 layers inside and 3 outside. There were more and more people. It's right here, It's so beautiful, really. Not only is the food delicious, but the person is good looking. His fingers are as long and as white jade, especially when he holds the pot and helmet with his hands and hands it to you, you will be mesmerized. Oh, you are so noble. Even in coarse linen clothes you are like a god. If you wear that gorgeous clothes, you will not be able to charm all the little ladies. I feel like my heart will jump out of my chest when he looks at me. Hearing these words and seeing everyone's crazy looks, Zhang Ziluo's mouth twitched hard. Zhang Ziluo can really squeeze in if she really uses her strength to pull everyone apart. But these people are all customers, and they all come around to buy the pot helmets from her stall. She can't be so ignorant. She has seen the modern star chasing scene, but she never thought that no matter what era, everyone likes to watch good-looking people. Just when Zhang Ziluo was standing on the outside looking a little distracted, Kui Hejin's ears were extremely sharp and he seemed to hear Ziluo's voice among the voices of a group of people. Kui Hejin made a movement in his hand. He was already tall. When he looked up and looked out, he saw Zhang Ziluo outside. Kui Hejin's expression changed and he said, "Mom, I'm going out for a while." Mrs. Kui didn't know why, so she saw Kui Hejin walking out. The crowd automatically gave way to him. Kui Hejin suddenly came to Zhang Ziluo, and he said warmly, "Come back." Zhang Ziluo nodded and said, "Well, I'm back. Why are you here at the stall?" She was still thinking about bringing him food at noon, but she had something to do at the hospital, which delayed her time and came back a little late. At this time, the classes at Graphite Academy have already ended. Kui Hejin was actually still worried about Zhang Ziluo, so he wanted to go see her after class. He went to the market first, but didn't find her, so he came to the dock. He knew that if they were not setting up stalls at the market, they would probably be at the dock. I didn't see her figure when I came over. Only Kui Hejin knew what he was feeling at that moment. Kui Hejin's lips moved, and just when she was about to say something, she suddenly smelled something, and then looked down at the blood stains on her grey clothes. Although it was inconspicuous, Kui Hejin still saw it. Kui Hejin's face suddenly changed. "Are you injured?" At this moment, Kui Hejin's voice was as cold as frost and snow, cold and dangerous. Zhang Ziluo lowered her head and looked at her clothes. There was a little blood stain, but it couldn't be seen at all. I didn't expect Kui Hejin to be so sharp-eyed. "Ah, it wasn't me who was injured, it was someone else's blood. I helped take care of the injury." Hearing these words, Kui Hejin felt a little relieved. However, I still took a closer look to make sure she was okay, and then I was really relieved. When the surrounding women and girls saw this scene, their eyes widened. "Isn't it? Such a good-looking young man actually greeted a young lady. He obviously looked so cold and desolate, like an ice cube. I never imagined that he could be so gentle at times." Just now, several of their familiar little sisters were still discussing. "People like him may be aloof by nature. I don't know what kind of little lady he can take care of willingly." They couldn't help but think about it just now. Unexpectedly, when I turned around, this young man was completely different. They are so envious of this little lady. This young lady looks to be 14 or 15 years old. She is also wearing coarse linen clothes, but she is very beautiful, exquisite, and exquisite. It's the kind of woman who feels sweet and soft just by looking at it. This is Miss Zhang. Do you all know each other? I don't know her. I bought something she made at the market before. The leek box is delicious. Is it possible that she made the pot helmet? The person setting up the stall is the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. They are probably a young couple. Ah, this young master is actually married and has a wife. Although the onlookers were a little surprised, some young ladies looked at Zhang Ziluo with envy. However, many women couldn't help laughing when they looked at the two men. Looking at the sweet look of the young couple, it is pleasing to the eye. Zhang Ziluo felt the glances around her, and hurriedly pulled Kui Hejin's sleeve gently, and said softly, "Have you eaten?" It was rare to see her looking shy. A smile flashed across Kui Hejin's eyes and he said softly, "Well, I ate 2 pot helmets. You eat first, it will be sold out in a while, so go home and rest early." Zhang Ziluo said, "I'll go over and help mother first." Zhang Ziluo went to help, Kui Hejin followed, and the crowd continued to gather around. Those who should buy pot helmets bought pot helmets. "Oh, young master, this is your little lady." Kui Hejin said warmly, "Yeah. Your little lady is really beautiful, her skin is fair and nice." Some women looked at Zhang Ziluo and couldn't help but praise her. Everyone likes beautiful things. Zhang Ziluo is indeed born with fair skin. Even if she lives in the countryside, she can't get a tan no matter how much she tans. Mrs. Kui said, "My daughter-in-law is very good, capable, beautiful, filial, considerate of my son, and the top leader in the family, that's all." Mrs. Kui said while looking at Kuakui. "Everyone should say a few words together, buy the pot helmets, and then leave." There were a lot of people just now, so Kuakui sold a lot at once. They were all sold out in a short time. After selling and packing up, Kui Hejin returned to school, while Zhang Ziluo and Mrs. Kui pushed the small dining cart home. After returning home, Zhang Ziluo took out 20 taels of silver and told Mrs. Kui about rescuing people. Mrs. Kui was also very happy to hear this. Mrs. Kui first boiled the water. After it was boiled, she said, "Ziluo, I boiled the hot water. You can wash up." Old Madame Kui did not find any blood stains on Zhang Ziluo's body. However, when closing the stall, Kui Hejin asked her to go home and boil some water so that Ziluo could wash up. He also said that Ziluo might be tired and asked her to go home and rest. Mrs. Kui guessed that it might be hard to treat people, so she didn't think much about it. Zhang Ziluo really likes to be clean, and she originally wanted to take a bath to refresh her body. But she usually takes a shower before going to bed at night, and Mrs. Kui will not boil hot water at noon. "Mom, why are you thinking about heating hot water for me? It's not something that Hejin has told me about. He is actually the most careful." Mrs. Kui knew that although her son had a cold temperament, he would be gentle and considerate to those he cared about. End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 114. In Mrs. Kui's opinion, Kui Hejin must care about Ziluo. How else could I be so careful? If Kui Hejin had not gone to school to teach in the afternoon, he would definitely take care of Ziluo himself. When Zhang Ziluo heard these words, her heart moved, and her heart seemed to be filled with ripples. The corners of her mouth couldn't help but turn up. After washing up, Zhang Ziluo was really tired, so she went back to the house and lay on the bed to rest for a while. The Zhang family in Xingshan village at this time. After lunch, the family got busy. The cattails in the yard have dried in the sun, and we can continue to weave straw sandals. It rained a few days ago, but fortunately the sun has been very good these days, and the cattails are easy to dry. Fortunately, I still have some dried cattails at home, which I just happen to be knitting into straw sandals. I will knit some more this afternoon and go to the market in Yangliu village tomorrow morning so that I can sell straw sandals. These days, apart from daily busy things, the Zhang family is knitting straw sandals. Fortunately, there are many people at home, and there is strength in numbers, so they all knitted a lot of straw sandals. Even 5-year-old Xian helped. Originally, his parents and brothers and sisters did not need him to work, but Xian still insisted. He wanted to help the family. Even if he is slow in editing, he can still edit it. He would always insist on helping the family with chores, thinking that this would make it easier for his parents, brothers, and sisters. Zhang Yunchu and Zhang Yunzhen would go to the nearby mountains every day. One was to chop firewood, and the other was to see if they could find palm trees, bamboo, or the kudzu that their sister said. They also cut a lot of cattail grass back from the mountains to dry and make straw sandals. Zhang Yunmian looked at his mother busy knitting straw sandals and asked, "Mom, don't we sell maltos?" Every time I went to the market, my mother would make some maltos to sell. Yes said, some of the maltos we made in the last episode have not been sold out, and there are still more than 20 yuan left, so we won't make more. Let's knit straw sandals first and see if there are many people buying them tomorrow. Zhang Yunzhen said, "Mom, it's better to have skills. If you have skills, you can make money." Yes, she smiled and said, "No, your sister taught us this. When you grow up, don't forget your sister. Even if she gets married, she is still your sister." Zhang Yunzhen hurriedly expressed his position, "This is natural. No matter where she is our best sister." Others also spoke one after another, "Yes, sister is the best. We all miss sister. As soon as I can build a big house, I will live well. I will also be kind to my sister when I grow up." Hearing what everyone said, Zhang Xiangchuan and Ye felt relieved. Since Ziluo taught her how to make some things, her family has been able to make some money one after another, and their life has become better. She cooked more food for every meal so that the children could have enough to eat. Thinking about how she could earn more copper coins by going to the market tomorrow, Ye felt that such a day was promising. Not only Ye is full of hope, but even Zhang Yunchu and the others can clearly feel that the conditions at home are getting better and the food is getting better. At least each of them can have enough to eat. Unlike before, there wasn't much food and everyone was reluctant to eat more. Sometimes they had to endure hunger. Now the family is sitting together and busy, full of hope. "Mom and Dad, how much do we sell our straw sandals for?" Zhang Xiangchuan said, "I have discussed with your mother, and the straw sandals should be sold for 5 cents each. We sell straw sandals in the village, and the price cannot be high. Even though the market in Yangliu village is very large, most of the people who visit the market are villagers from the surrounding villages." Mr. Ye also nodded and said, "Well, straw sandals are different from maltos. You don't need to invest copper coins to buy anything with straw sandals. It means we are busy, so if we sell one more straw sandals, we will make more money. The price of 5 cents is cheaper, and people who buy it are also there will be more." Zhang Shumian said, "Mom and Dad, this is what I mean by small profits but quick turnover." Yes, she smiled and said, "You understand what your sister means." Zhang Yunmian nodded and said, "Of course, sister is very powerful. She understands everything we don't understand and will patiently explain it to us." Zhang Yunzhen said, "My sister is much smarter than before." When Mrs. Ye heard this, she said seriously, "Your sister was originally smart, but she was injured and stimulated when she was a child, so she never recovered. Now that she is married and grown up, it is naturally different. You will understand many things when you grow up, and you will become smarter." Once Ye said this, everyone would stop thinking about it. Xian knitted straw sandals diligently with her little hands and said, "I want to grow up quickly." Zhang Yunchu looked at his younger brother and said, "You are only 5 years old. It will take time to grow up." Xian lowered his head and continued to move his little hands diligently. After a while, he whispered, "I miss you, sister. When you grow up, you can go see my sister more often." Ye's heart felt sour after listening to her son's words. She didn't take care of this child much since she was a child. Ziluo took care of her. Xian may not be used to it after Ziluo got married. He thought his sister was also normal. But he is very sensible on weekdays and never says anything. He only helps the family seriously. Mrs. Ye could only comfort him and said, "Yes, you have grown up and are capable. You can help your sister with things, and naturally you can see your sister often." When Xian heard this, his eyes lit up. Yeah, I want to become stronger, I want to learn martial arts from Dad. Zhang Xiangchuan looked at his son and said, practice martial arts is very hard. Xian said, I want to learn, Dad, I want to learn. Zhang Xiangchuan saw his son suddenly cheer up and couldn't bear to refuse him. Well, come here, Dad will help you see if you are suitable for practicing martial arts. Of his 3 sons, Zhang Yunchu is not suitable for practicing martial arts, but Zhang Yunzhen is in good physical shape for practicing martial arts. Zhang Xiangchuan will also teach him some boxing and kicking skills on weekdays. In Zhang Xiangchuan's words, he learned some boxing and kicking skills from others when he was young, so he is a little bit good at it. The Zhang family doesn't understand anyway. They believe whatever their parents say. Zhang Yunchu, on the other hand, remains silent. Zhang Yunchu has a gentle temperament. Although his physique is not suitable for martial arts training, he is extremely intelligent. He knew that his parents must be hiding something from them. My parents were not from Xinshan village before. They didn't tell me where they were from before fleeing the famine, and they never mentioned what happened in the past. Xian hurried over. Zhang Xiangchuan looked at Xuan's physique and suddenly became excited. You have a very good physique and are suitable for martial arts training. However, you are still young. Dad will teach you basic skills first. The basic skill is to start from the squatting horse stance. But if you want to learn, you have to endure hardship and you can't give up halfway. Xian nodded and said, Dad, I am not afraid of hardship, and I will not give up halfway. I will study hard and become capable. He is very persistent about this. Zhang Xiangchuan was very pleased to see him. Donghe village. Zhang Ziluo woke up after taking a rest at noon. When she got up and went to the ground, Mrs. Kui was no longer at home. Since she started building a house, Mrs. Kui usually goes to the back of the village in the afternoon. Go and see the progress of building a house. Keep an eye on it to see if there are any problems. By the way, count out today's wages and send them to Li Zhang, who will then be responsible for distributing the wages. Zhang Ziluo knew this. After she had rested, she couldn't stay idle, so she started to work. End of chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 115. Zhang Ziluo first went to look at the soybeans cooked in the morning. The sunshine was just right now, and the yard was sunny and a little warm. Zhang Ziluo took it out and put it in a warm environment to ferment. This needs to ferment for about 3 days before proceeding to the next step. Later, Zhang Ziluo looked at the red color in the drying snow. At this time, Shuelihong was already a little soft. After it becomes soft, it can be steamed and dried. Next, Zhang Ziluo wanted to boil a pot of water, and she went to the yard to get firewood. Seeing the firewood chopped into pieces for easy burning, her expression changed, and she couldn't help but think of Kui Hejin. Kui Hejin knew that they needed firewood every day. Sometimes he would go to the mountains to chop firewood when he came back from school early. Or I might go to the mountains early in the morning to cut firewood. He would chop all the chopped firewood so that she and her mother could make the fire easier. There is never a shortage of firewood at home, also because Kui Hejin silently prepares it in advance. Zhang Ziluo suppressed the surging emotions in her heart, took some firewood back to the stove house, and started to light the fire. After the pot boils, Zhang Ziluo boils the sun-softened Shuelihong in boiling hot water and scalds it for a while. After a while, quickly take it out, put it in a big jar, and seal it. Let it sit like this for a night, and then hang it on the clothesline in the yard to dry out the next day. When the drying is almost done, you can proceed with steaming and drying 3 times, and then the prunes will be ready. Zhang Ziluo looked at Shuelihong, and all she could think about was the taste of prunes. What about braised pork with pickled vegetables, steamed pork ribs with pickled pickles, steamed pork ribs with pickled vegetables, roasted pork with pickled vegetables, etc. Just thinking about it made Zhang Ziluo feel hungry. When Mrs. Kui came back, she saw Zhang Ziluo busy and said quickly, "Ziluo, just let me do some of the work, shouldn't I let you rest?" When Mrs. Kui went to the back to see the house being built, Zhang Ziluo was still taking a nap. "Why are you getting up and busy again?" Zhang Ziluo smiled and said, "Mom, I've got some rest, and I'm just doing something. After the pickled vegetables are ready, we can make pickled vegetables kiwakui." Speaking of this, Mrs. Kui was also very happy. "We made more than 1,800 yuan today, which is almost 2 taels of silver. Excluding the wages given to everyone, there is still more than 1 tael of silver a day. Some time ago, the business of the leak box was average. A good day was only 600 to 700 cash, which was not enough to pay everyone." Mrs. Kui was also anxious and worried. Who would have thought that Ziluo would have a solution? This is more profitable than a leak box. But after deducting the meat and flour we use, we still make a lot of money. I bought so much thin noodles from an old lady some time ago that I won't need to buy any noodles in a short time. When it comes to buying meat, because Ziluo has a business relationship with Linzuzu's price is cheaper every time. Thinking about how good the business was in the morning, Mrs. Kui felt at ease. Zhang Ziluo smiled and said, "Indeed, we will start the kiwakui business next. When the dried plums are ready, we can make the dried plums and kiwakui." Mrs. Kui doesn't know about pickled vegetables, but Ziluo has been talking about it for the past 2 days, and she has also started to look forward to it. "I don't know how delicious it will be." "Well, Mom is also looking forward to making the prune and vegetable pot." As if thinking of something, he said, "I'll go to the back and listen to everyone talking about the market tomorrow. I'm wondering if we should go to the Yangliu village market to sell pot helmets. Yangliu village is very big. Usually when the market is going on, villagers from 10 or 8 nearby villages will go there to go to the market. It's very lively. You said that if there are so many people, you will also buy something to eat?" When I passed by, those people were still discussing, saying that they had taken their wages and went home in the past few days, and some women were preparing to go to the market tomorrow. Maybe they would buy some food. Mrs. Kui just thinks that Yangliu village market is big. Such a big market has many people and is very lively, and maybe there are many people buying things. However, Mrs. Kui knew that she had no experience in business matters, so it was better to listen to Ziluo's advice. Village market. Zhang Ziluo also remembers the scene when she went to Yangliu village to attend the market with her parents, brothers, and sisters. The market was indeed very big, with many people setting up stalls and many people going to the market. Many villagers from villages far away will go to the market. Even if they don't buy anything, they just take a look around, just like having fun. But it's the slack season when everyone goes to the market. When farming is busy, there are fewer people going to the market. As soon as we enter the 12th lunar month, during the Chinese New Year period, every time we go to the market in Yangliu village, there are very many people. Most of the people in a village go to the market to buy New Year's goods. It was really lively at that time. Recalling those scenes, Zhang Ziluo also had a smile on her face. "Mom, let's go to the market in Yangliu village to set up a stall tomorrow." Mrs. Kui was very happy when she heard Ziluo agreed and said, "Then let's get more pot helmets tomorrow." Zhang Ziluo thought for a while and said, "For farmers, an extra penny is still money. They wish they could break a penny in half and spend it. However, there are also families with good family conditions who are willing to buy food. I was thinking, there happen to be leeks in the yard. Let's cut some leeks and make both leek boxes and pot helmets tomorrow." Fortunately, the small dining cart made by her father is not small. It has an iron plate and a small pot, so you can fry the leek box and the pot helmet at the same time. Those who are looking for something cheap and want to buy something to eat can buy a leek box. Everyone should be willing to spend 3 cents to buy one. Those who are willing to spend money and want to eat something with the flavor of meat can buy a pot helmet. Ms. Kui's expression changed and she said, "Indeed, this is good." Now Ms. Kui is also keen on doing business to make money. "I feel so happy when I come back every day and count the copper coins I earned. Then I'll cut the leeks, pick them clean, wash them, and prepare everything I need. Don't get up early tomorrow and be too busy." Zhang Ziluo is preparing to knead the dough to make dough, and wash the mushrooms, green onions and ginger. After finishing it, she saw that it was getting late, so she prepared to make dinner. For dinner, she scrambled a plate of leeks and eggs and made mushroom and meatball soup. In fact, Zhang Ziluo wanted to eat dumplings and wontons. "But I'm busy with a lot of things right now, so I can't even think of making dumplings or wontons." While he was busy, Kui Hejin went home. Zhang Ziluo had just finished cooking and washed her hands. When she looked up and saw Kui Hejin coming back, she gave him a soft smile and said, "You're back." Kui Hejin looked deeply at Zhang Ziluo, then gently grabbed her hand and gently pulled her into the room. "Hey, what's wrong with you?" Zhang Ziluo was confused and was pulled into the house by Kui Hejin. Kui Hejin closed the door, turned his head and looked at Zhang Ziluo carefully, stretched out his hand to tidy up her hair, and then touched her neck with his fingers. Well, his fingers were as cold as jade, and Zhang Ziluo's body trembled slightly, not knowing why. Looking up at Kui Hejin, he felt that his eyes were a little dangerous. Zhang Ziluo felt that at this moment, a dark whirlpool was surging in his eyes, as if he was trying to swallow her up. Her heart trembled, she gently tugged on his sleeve, and said softly, "Husband, what's wrong with you?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 116. Chapter 116 Customs, Third Update. Kui Hejin watched her body tremble slightly. He narrowed his eyes slightly and suppressed the emotions in his eyes. He also tried to control his emotions. "Scared you?" Zhang Ziluo shook her head and said, "No. She won't be afraid of him, it's just that you are different from usual. I wonder what's wrong with you. She will only worry about him." Kui Hejin asked in a hoarse voice, "Are you injured?" "I'm not hurt. The blood is really not yours." This afternoon, Kui Hejin felt a little uneasy thinking about the blood on her body and the news he had learned. Zhang Ziluo looked at Kui Hejin and seemed to understand. "Are you afraid that I have wounds on my body?" Realizing this, Zhang Ziluo couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth, and her eyebrows suddenly curved into a crescent shape. She stretched out her hand and pressed the wall behind her, looked up at him and said, "Husband, are you worried about me and caring about me? Would you like your husband to check it out?" Zhang Ziluo's eyes were as clear water, but as bright as the sun, and she looked at Kui Hejin like that. She deliberately wanted to see Kui Hejin's reaction. Kui Hejin's expression changed, and he slowly turned his head to look at her. His picturesque eyes were as deep as mist, and seemed to contain a trace of charming entanglement. Zhang Ziluo's heart trembled when she saw such eyes, feeling like a vine wrapped around her heart. She couldn't resist it. Zhang Ziluo put down her hand and turned her head slightly away from Kui Hejin. "Ahem, I'm fine, and I'm not injured. The young master of the medical center was seriously injured, and there was blood on his body when I treated his wound." Kui Hejin whispered, "At Shenxi, there was a fire in Xinglan Medical Center. Someone should have assassinated and set the fire." Upon hearing this, Zhang Ziluo's face changed drastically. "What, there's a fire? Where are the people at the medical center?" The people at Xinglan Medical Center were very nice. That night when Kui Hejin fell ill, she went to the medical center to borrow silver needles. Later, the young master gave her the set of silver needles as a gift. Furthermore, she also earned medical fees from there. Not to mention the initial 10 taels of silver, even the 20 taels of silver now is not a small amount. Others did not believe that a young girl had medical skills, but the young master trusted her. This kind of trust is really rare. Kui Hejin's eyes moved slightly, and there was an aura about him, which gave people a slight sense of oppression. You are worried about him. Zhang Ziluo didn't notice anything strange about Kui Hejin's expression at this time. She just replied instinctively, of course, I just saved someone. If he dies, I feel that my rescue was in vain. Kui Hejin said coldly, don't worry, he's fine. Zhang Ziluo breathed a sigh of relief. He then reacted and said, hey, how did you know? Kui Hejin said nothing. Zhang Ziluo knew that if he didn't want to talk about something, he wouldn't tell it no matter how much she asked. But she believed Kui Hejin's words, as long as everything is fine. Well, since there's nothing else to do, let's clean up first and let's have dinner. Kui Hejin nodded. This night, when Zhang Ziluo went to bed, she slept a little uneasily, and her dreams were full of flames. Kui Hejin was a light sleeper, and he seemed to be able to sense her uneasiness immediately. Kui Hejin stood up slightly and looked at her, tucked her in, and said softly, it's okay, have a good sleep. Early the next morning, when Zhang Ziluo woke up, it was still dark, and Kui Hejin had already gotten up. After washing, he went to fetch water. Zhang Ziluo and Mrs. Kui made leek boxes and pot helmets. After breakfast, Zhang Ziluo and Mrs. Kui pushed the small dining cart to Yangliu village. It was just dawn when they set out. At this moment, many people in the village have also gotten up. Some people have already made breakfast, and smoke is coming out of the chimneys on the eaves. There were also children who helped the family and drove a group of ducks and geese to the river early. The group of ducks and geese are all lined up and quacking, which looks quite cute. Children in the village will shout loudly when they see Mrs. Kui and Zhang Ziluo, Auntie, Sister Zhang. Mrs. Kui will also respond enthusiastically, hey, it's Daquan. Do you want to rush into the river? Well, if you drive the ducks into the river, you don't need to feed them, they can eat in the river. There are also people who happen to be carrying water home. When they see them, they will say hello warmly. The people in the village are very enthusiastic and will greet each other with a few words. Oh, Sister Kui, you just look at this thing, are you going to set up a stall? Mrs. Kui said, Ziluo's father helped make this. It's very useful. Yes, she went to Yangliu village to set up a stall. Oh, your in-laws are really nice. That's not true. By the way, you can go to the market later. Many people from our village are going to Yangliu village to go to the market today. We have agreed to ride in the Li Zhang family's ox cart. His youngest son will drive the ox cart to the market, and we will go with him. Zhou the eldest son of the Li Zhang family, also helped build the house and received wages every day, so he had no time to go elsewhere on weekdays. However, the youngest son of the Li Zhang family is also very strong and capable, and can drive an ox cart. Mrs. Kui smiled and said, no, it's just right for us to push the cart. Until she left the village, Zhang Ziluo couldn't help but laugh. Thinking of my last life, no matter what I did, I was in a hurry. When I was traveling in a big city, my pace was always fast. But here, looking at everyone's slow-paced life and listening to everyone's voices, my breathing slows down. Such a slow pace of pastoral life actually makes people relax involuntarily. The small dining cart has a drum and a handle on the side, so you can walk it just like pushing a cart, which is very convenient. When we arrived at Yangliu village, we obviously felt that the roads on both sides were much wider. The nearby roads also seemed to have been repaired, there were no potholes and they were very smooth. Mrs. said, a long time ago, when there were not many villages nearby, there was Yanglia village, so Yanglia village had the custom of going to the market, which was passed down from our ancestors. Later, there were more and more nearby villages knowing that there were many people selling things in Yanglia village and the prices were cheap, everyone was willing to come here to attend the market. Although it is just a village, there are many kinds of things. In the 12th lunar month last year, the market here was really busy. Zhang's Hiluo said, "Can't our village go to the market? It would be convenient if you go to the market in Donghe village. Every village that has a market is a custom handed down from our ancestors. It doesn't mean that any village can open a market if it wants to. To open a market, it must be able to open a market. There must be people selling things and people buying things. Our Donghe village, the remote conditions are poor and it is difficult to open a gathering. Yanglia village is a big village, and every household has plenty of land, food, and good conditions. There are hundreds of households in this village alone. Naturally, everyone is happy to come to Yanglia village to attend the market." Zhang's Hiluo understood that this meant that the people in Yanglia village itself had the spending power. They arrived a bit late and there was not much room. Many stalls have been set up. Zhang's Hiluo took a look and saw that there were indeed many kinds of things, more than those in Dongxi in the town. She also saw a cloth seller. Zhang's Hiluo's expression changed and she said, "Mom, there is a cloth seller at the stall over there. I wonder if the price is cheap." End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Kandi. Chapter 117. Chapter 117 Market, First Update. Zhang's Hiluo has always thought about buying cloth to make clothes for her family, or buying ready-made clothes. Mrs. naturally saw the cotton, linen, and kudzu in the corner. Mrs.'s expression also changed and she said, "It should be cheap. I heard that some girls in Yanglia village can weave cloth. Those who are diligent and skillful can weave a piece of cloth a day with a loom." Zhang's Hiluo was stunned for a moment. There are still looms in Yanglia village. She had not heard of anyone in their Donghe village having a loom. Seemingly understanding Zhang's Hiluo's doubts, Mrs. explained, "Some families in Yanglia village are well off and are willing to spend money to let their daughters learn some embroidery work. They will also buy a loom for their daughters to weave at home. Some families in Yanglia village, the young man married Ji Niang. So, people in Yanglia village don't need to buy cloth, they can just use their own cloth to wear clothes." "Yes, but usually businessmen come to Yanglia village to buy cloth, and people from Yanglia village rarely set up stalls to sell in the market. There will be some businessmen who come to the village regularly to collect cloth, and the prices are reasonable, so there is no need for some people to weave cloth and sell it. But since there is a cloth seller, you can go and have a look later." She wanted to make clothes for both Mrs. and Kui Hejin. When she got married, her parents made several sets of clothes, but Mrs. and Kui Hejin had very few clothes. And they are all coarse linen clothes. Zhang's Hiluo wants to buy cotton cloth and make cotton clothes. "Mom, let's find a place to set up a stall first. When we're done, we'll also take a stroll in the market to see if there's anything we can buy." Mrs. originally thought there was nothing she needed to buy, but when she thought of Zhang's Hiluo, she thought her daughter-in-law might have something she needed to buy. Then he nodded and said, "Okay." They arrived a bit late indeed, as many people came before dawn to occupy space and set up stalls. The market is so big that it takes a quarter of an hour to walk around the whole circle. They found a corner place to set up their stall. Early in the morning, there were not many people going to the market. That is to say, some people in Yanglia village go out to buy vegetables and come early to go to the market. Many people go to the market after the sun rises. Many villagers from distant villages will come to Yanglia village after breakfast when they want to go to the market. When they arrive, it is almost around 6 p.m. So there were a lot of people there. There were people at the market, but not many. Most of them were villagers from Yangliu village and nearby villages. Some people come to the market early because they want to go home early after shopping. Some people come to the market in a hurry and want to buy things and take a look around. In ancient times, there were no entertainment programs. During the off-season, most villagers would visit each other with neighbors. Then, take a stroll in the market when you go to the market. If some people have relatives from Yangliu village and want to visit relatives, they will visit relatives during the market in Yangliu village. After they set up the stall, Mrs. Kui said, "Don't think there are only a few people here, but after the sun comes out, there will be more people." Zhang Ziluo nodded. She has an impression that when her parents took her and her younger siblings to the market in Yangliu village, there were many people there starting from mid-noon. During the 12th lunar month, the market was busy until mid-afternoon. Some stalls will not close until the evening. So many villagers from distant villages come to the market and buy some food here at noon, and then go home after buying everything in the afternoon. Zhang Ziluo looked around and had an idea, and said, "Mom, let's fry a few leek boxes and pot helmets first." Although there are not many people, there are also many people coming to set up the stall. Mrs. Kui understood what she said as soon as she heard these words. Yes, there are so many people setting up stalls, and some of them are even bringing their children. I guess they don't have time to have breakfast in the morning. Let's fry the leek boxes and pot helmets. After a while, the fragrance will spread, and naturally people will come to buy food. Ziluo, you are so thoughtful that my mother didn't even think of it. There are many people who come to Yangliu village market to set up stalls. And generally people who can do some small business have some copper coins in their hands, so they should be willing to buy some food. So Mrs. Kui and Zhang Ziluo got busy quickly. Even though they are in a remote location, the food they make has a strong fragrance. Soon, a strong fragrance came out. Mrs. Kui hadn't made or eaten the chive boxes for many days. Smelling the fragrance, she couldn't help but said, "I think the chive boxes are delicious. I used to make the chive boxes every day to set up a stall, and I ate them at noon to fill my stomach. I've eaten too much, and I don't want to eat it, but I haven't eaten it for several days, and I still want to eat it after smelling this smell. Ziluo, can we also give everyone a free taste?" Zhang Ziluo thought for a while and said, "There will be no free tasting. If you smell the fragrance, you can buy it if you are willing to buy it. If you are not willing to buy it, the business will not be bad when there are more people at noon. There are leeks boxes and pot helmets, and there are not many things with them. Zhang Yanluo believes that they can sell them. That's okay." Mrs. Kui is used to listening to Ziluo anyway. She knew that what Ziluo heard was right. A young couple and their children were setting up a stall not far away. When they smelled the fragrance, they were stunned and looked over. The little woman asked, "What are you doing over there? It smells so delicious." The young man said, "Madam, let's go over and see what delicious food is on sale. Buy some food for my son. I don't even bother to have breakfast in the morning." They were quite far away from Yangliu village. In order to get a good seat early, they set out from home before dawn without even thinking about eating. The children also came with us, so naturally they didn't have breakfast. But my daughter is sensible and doesn't cry or make trouble. Of course, they also brought dry food. They planned to eat some to fill their stomachs when they were hungry. They also planned to eat here at noon. The stalls set up at the market in Yangliu village usually close in the evening. They are naturally reluctant to buy anything to eat, but they are willing to buy it for their daughter. The little woman nodded and said, "You watch here, I will take your son over to have a look." As he said that, the little woman took her daughter's hand and went over. The 6-year-old girl followed her mother happily. She likes to go to the market with her parents very much. Although she has to get up very early and stay there all day, Her parents always buy her something to eat. This is a good thing that you can't eat on a daily basis. So she likes to go to the market the most. The little woman came to Zhang Ziluo's stall and was stunned when she saw the food she had never seen before. Is this a pie? What is this? Zhang Ziluo smiled and explained, this beautiful sister, this is a leek box, which contains leeks and eggs. This is kuakui. Kuakui is made of meat filling. It is crispy, fragrant, and delicious. I'm sure you'll be full of praise after eating it. We used to sell it at the pier and at the market, and everyone said it was delicious. The little woman looked at it, smelled the fragrance, and then looked down at her daughter with her big eyes blinking expectantly. She asked, how much does one cost? The leek box costs 3 cents a piece, and the pot helmet costs 5 cents each. They are both delicious. End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fengyuan Candy. Chapter 118. When the little woman heard the price, she thought it was acceptable. She was still a little unsure and asked, is it really delicious? Zhang Ziluo smiled and said, it's really delicious. Keep it until you eat it and you'll want to buy it again. This is our exclusive secret recipe. You can't buy it anywhere else. The taste is very different. You can't buy it with 3 pennies, and you can't be cheated. It's just out of the pot and it's hot. And you can smell it just by smelling it. This thing must be delicious if it smells so good. I'm not going to lie to you, many old customers are interested in our chai boxes. We are people from around here, and we don't do any business. We just want everyone to have a good meal and be repeat customers, and come back more often to take care of our business. Zhang Ziluo Balabala said a lot. The little woman smiled and said, okay, then buy 2 leek boxes. The little woman was reluctant to buy more, and planned to give one to her men and one to her daughter. She would not need to eat it herself. Zhang Ziluo hurriedly wrapped the 2 boxes of fried leeks and handed them to the little woman. The little woman gave them 6 cents. She took out one and handed it to her daughter and said, come on, eat slowly. The little girl ate as she walked, blew on it and took one bite after another. She puffed up her cheeks and said, Mom, it's delicious. Looking at her daughter's happy look, the little woman also breathed a sigh of relief. At the stall, the little woman gave another box of leeks to her man to eat. Her husband is reluctant to eat, so he lets her eat. The 2 of us ended up eating 1 bite at a time. There happened to be guests coming over. Smelling the aroma and watching them eat, especially the little girl eating happily, made people curious. Sister, what are you cooking that tastes so delicious? The little woman smiled and said, it's not delicious. I just bought a leek box from the stall over there for 3 cents each. I was originally worried that it wouldn't be delicious. Don't tell me, it's really delicious. It tastes different from other things. It looks like a pie, but it's not the same as a pie. At this time, the little girl said crisply, Mom, there are eggs. The little woman said, it's true, the eggs look quite small, and 3 cents is really not expensive. At this time, the lady who asked the question also went to Zhang Ziluo's stall with a basket. Little lady, I'll buy 6 of those boxes. Her daughter-in-law and daughter both weave, and her family has plenty of land and good conditions. Every time she goes to the market, she will come to the market to buy some delicious food for her family to try. Try something new. Zhang Ziluo smiled and said, it's a leek box. It'll be ready soon. Just like this, people came one after another early in the morning to buy things, including buying pot helmets and some buying leek boxes. But many people still buy leeks boxes. Because 3 cents is cheap. Everyone just wants to fill their stomachs, so just a little warm meal is enough. After selling leek boxes for a while, Zhang Ziluo understood the difference between a village market and a stall in the town. Mom, I feel that when people go to the village market, more of the dishes are affordable and cheap. Kuakui has meat, but for 2 cents more, even if it tastes better, everyone still chooses the leek box. Mrs. nodded and said, "That's it? I came here to go to the market before because I wanted things to be cheap and affordable. You see, everyone in our village has copper coins in their hands, and they rarely go to the town to buy anything together. They always go to the village market to buy things. But in those villages with good conditions, villagers like to go to the town to take a look. You said, these pot helmets won't be sold, right? Mrs. is worried that people will only buy leek boxes and not pot helmets." Zhang Ziluo said, "Mom, don't worry, the market won't close until the evening. We will definitely be able to sell it in a whole day's work. If we can't sell it, we will go to the pier." Yep. Once Mrs. heard this, she felt relieved. As if thinking of something, Mrs. said, "Ziluo, will your parents come to the market? We happen to have made food. If they come to the market, we can give them some food." Zhang Ziluo's expression changed, thinking that her parents would come to set up a stall, and she said with an expression, "My parents should come to set up a stall to sell straw sandals." Upon hearing this, Mrs. hurriedly said, "Maybe I haven't had breakfast, so I'd better fry some leeks. Send the box and pot helmet over." Zhang Ziluo did not refuse. She originally wanted to say thank you, but she also knew that saying thank you would be too intrusive. Okay. There are not many people here who know how to buy things. Mrs. is frying leek boxes and pot helmets, while Zhang Ziluo goes to find her parents first to see where their stall is. Zhang Ziluo was walking in the market, looking back and forth at the stalls on both sides. After walking for a while, when I walked around to the other side, I saw my parents' stall. My parents brought Xian to set up a stall. Mom and Dad, Xian. Zhang Ziluo knew that if she went to the market to set up a stall, her parents would usually only take Xian with them, while her second brother and the others would work at home. Sister Xian was sitting obediently on the small stool. When she saw Zhang Ziluo coming, she quickly stood up and ran towards Zhang Ziluo. Zhang Ziluo was afraid that he would be hit by the crowd, so she hurried over and knelt down to pick him up. Zhang Xiangchuan and Yeshi were also very happy when they saw Ziluo coming. "Ziluo, are you here to go to the market too?" Zhang Ziluo nodded and said, "Well, come with my mother-in-law to set up a stall and cook some food." Zhang Ziluo took out 6 pot helmets and said, "Mom and Dad, you eat pot helmets. This is the food I just researched." Mrs. quickly waved her hand and said, "Mom, your father and Xian have all had breakfast. You can keep the food and sell it for money. Don't worry about us." Zhang Ziluo said, "Mom, I brought it all over. You, Dad and Xian can help me taste it. I don't know if it tastes good or not. I'll have an opinion after you taste it." Zhang Ziluo was very insistent. She also took one and put it into Xian's hand first, saying, "Xian eats it." Xian looked at her parents, then extended her hand to Zhang Ziluo and said, "Sister, it's hard work in business. Xian is not hungry, so there is no need to eat." Although he is still young, he also knows that sister is working hard. "My sister wants to make money to build a house." Hearing Xian's words, Zhang Ziluo felt sour and warm in her heart. Xian helped sister taste it. Sister didn't work hard and has already started building a house. After the house is built, Xian and his parents will go to Aja's house for dinner together. When a house was built here, there was a custom of warming pots for meals. Xian became excited upon hearing this. "Xian, eat it while it's hot. If you don't eat it, my sister will be sad." Zhang Ziluo deliberately showed a sad look. Xian quickly reached out and touched Zhang Ziluo's eyebrows and said, "Sister, if you are not sad, Xian will eat it." "So good." Zhang Xiangchuan and Mr. Ye felt helpless and heartbroken when they saw their daughter talking like this, so they also started to eat. After eating this, both of them were shocked. Is this called kiwakui? Is it so delicious? Zhang Xiangchuan was also stunned and said, I have indeed never eaten such food. Xianxian also nodded obediently, yeah, it's delicious. My sister made it delicious. Seeing her parents and Xianxian eating happily, Zhang Ziluo was also very happy. I will teach my parents how to make it later, and they can also make it and eat it on weekdays. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Space Doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fenyuan Candy. Chapter 119. Chapter 119 Not to be coddled, first update. Ye hurriedly said, it's okay, you don't need to teach your parents. If you have the skill and do some business, your parents will be happy for you. Seeing how well their daughter was doing, Zhang Xiangchuan and Mr. Ye felt happier than anything they had eaten. Zhang Ziluo said, teach my parents that I do business too, and I don't necessarily have to be in the kiwakui business all the time. If everyone is tired of eating kiwakui and doesn't buy much, we will have to set up a stall with other items. But don't worry, parents, I have a lot of ideas in my mind. Looking at Zhang Ziluo's confident look, Ye also breathed a sigh of relief. Don't work too hard. Ye is also afraid that Zhang Ziluo will be tired. Zhang Ziluo shook her head and said, Mom and Dad, don't worry, my mother-in-law and husband-in-law are very good to me. I won't get tired. Ye said happily, I also see that your mother-in-law is a nice person, and the Hejin looks cold, but such people are often cold on the outside and hot on the inside. If you live a good life, we will feel relieved. By the way, Mom and Dad, how are the sales of straw sandals? Ye smiled while arranging the straw sandals on the stall and explained, 5 pairs of shoes were sold early in the morning. A pair costs 5 cents, which is 25 cents. I brought a lot of straw sandals this time. The market has just begun. If I sell them all, I can make a lot of money. Zhang Xiangchuan added, the key is that straw sandals only require a bit of handwork and don't require any investment. You can make a profit by selling a pair. That's good, your brothers and sisters are busy at home and want to do more. Xianxian said, sister, I can also make it up. She smiled and said, that's not true. We Xianxian have made several pairs. Ye and Zhang Xiangchuan never pampered their children. I don't think that Xianxian should not work at the age of 5. Of course the only person they pampered was Zhang Ziluo. Our Xianxian is awesome. Zhang Ziluo hugged Xianxian, grabbed his little hand and looked at it, and found that there were several small wounds on his little hand. Is this frayed? Xianxian looked at her little hand and said, sister, it doesn't hurt. It will be fine soon. It actually hurt, but he didn't want to worry his sister. Zhang Ziluo felt sour in her heart. Looking at his bright and trusting big eyes, she felt a little distressed. But she couldn't say not to let Xianxian work. Because my younger brothers and sisters have been helping the family with work since they were very young. The same is true for many families in the village. So most of the children in the village are soft-skinned, because there are few who are spoiled. Zhang Ziluo quietly used the wood power to treat Xianxian silently. In this way, Suanxuan's scratched fingers will soon heal. At this moment, someone saw the straw sandals in their stall and curiously knelt down to take a look at them. Are these straw sandals? Ye quickly smiled and said, they are straw sandals. They are soft and comfortable to wear. The soles are also thick. They can be worn when working in the fields or on the mountains. These straw sandals are different from the straw sandals we have seen before. The soles are really thick and not rough. They are quite good looking. Ye hurriedly said, it is true, our weaving method is different from others. The man looked at it carefully and seemed very satisfied. He asked, "How much does it cost for a pair?" 5 cents a pair. The man was accustomed to bargaining with Ms. Yeah, but judging from her expression, she didn't think 5 cents for a pair of shoes was expensive. Yeah still insisted on paying 5 cents a pair. "Well, sister, if you buy a few more pairs, I will give you a piece of Maltose as a gift." The man thought for a while, nodded and said, "Then buy 2 pairs, but I don't know if the size of these is enough for you." Yeah hurriedly said, "Our shoes all come in different sizes, including large, medium and small. You can try them on and compare." The method of weaving straw sandals according to the 3 numbers was still taught to them by Exiled. Moreover, the straw sandals have live openings that can be adjusted in size. Slightly larger, adjusted tighter, and will not loosen your feet when worn. The man tried it on and bought 2 pairs directly. People came one after another to buy straw sandals. Zhang Zhiluo did not delay her parents' business, and after saying a few words, she was ready to go back to the stall. While walking that way, Zhang Zhiluo also heard some conversations. Some people went to the market together, talking while shopping. "Have you heard that the Xinglan pavilion in town was burned down by a fire?" "It's true, we haven't been to town for a long time." "It was also fake, and it almost burned down the surrounding houses. Fortunately, it was in the afternoon, and the fire was discovered as soon as it broke out, and was saved by the people around." "How could something so good get burned in broad daylight?" "I heard that someone wants to kill the young master of Xinglan Pavilion." "What, assassination, town, isn't this scary?" "I just heard about it, no one knows what's going on." When Zhang Zhiluo heard this, her expression froze. It seems that Kui Hejin was right, someone assassinated and set fire to him. However, Zhang Zhiluo felt that maybe someone ignored the assassination, and Zhuang Xing'an's people deliberately set fire to attract the attention of the people around them, so that they could avoid the assassination safely in the chaos. Zhang Zhiluo felt confused. Wasn't he the young master of a medical family? How could someone assassinate him without hesitation in broad daylight? It is somewhat unreasonable, but it also shows that there is something wrong with it. If someone knew that she cured Zhuang Xing'an, they wouldn't do anything to her, right? Is it because of this that Kui Hejin looked strange when he came back yesterday? But Zhang Zhiluo is naturally not worried about assassination. She naturally has ways to protect herself. And if there is danger, her dreams will give her advance warning when she sleeps. When Zhang Zhiluo came to the stall, there were 3 people waiting to buy something. "Buy 8 leek boxes and 8 pot helmets." "Brother Lu, your daughter and son-in-law are both back. You bought so much food at once." "That's right, we're just in time for the market, and they came to see us." "Your daughter and son-in-law are filial and come back to see you once a month." "The main reason is that it is convenient for us in Yanglia village. When they come to the market, they can have a meal at home." The man named Brother Lu was smiling all over his face. It seemed that his family conditions were good. "Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought so much at once." After Zhang Zhiluo came back, she said, "Mom, let me do it." "Why are you back so soon? Talk to your parents more." Zhang Zhiluo smiled and said, "It's okay, there are more people coming now, and they also want to sell straw sandals." At this time, a young man came over and scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Madam, can I ask, what kind of leek is this of yours? Why does it taste so delicious? If there are seeds for sale, I wonder if I can buy some." "It's true that my wife is in confinement and has no appetite. I bought a box of leeks and she was willing to eat them." Ms. Kui looked at the young man and thought of her son. She smiled and said, "You feel sorry for your wife?" The young man smiled and said, "Of course my wife will feel distressed." At this time, a person next to him sneered and said, "He is the son-in-law who comes to visit, how dare he not feel sorry for his wife?" End of this chapter. The space doctor became the favorite of the exiled powerful minister. Author, Fengyuan Kandi. Chapter 120. Hearing these words, the young man's face suddenly turned red, and then turned pale for a moment. He lowered his head, not daring to look at others. Someone next to him whispered, "The two daughters of the Yang family, Fan Cheng's family can't get rid of the problem. They married into Yang Hong's family and followed Yang Hong's daughter. How dare the son-in-law not feel sorry for his daughter-in-law? Don't ask anyone to kick them out. No, the Yang family has good conditions and plenty of land. Fan Cheng couldn't have enough to eat before, but now he can naturally have enough to eat. What's the use? Yang Chai is a lame man, walking with a limp. He was rejected by others and had to withdraw from the engagement before. But I heard that his mother-in-law is pregnant. If she gives birth to a son, her daughter and her son-in-law will also be kicked out." The young man called Fan Cheng lowered his head in embarrassment. His family is the stepmother. There are many brothers in the family and the conditions are not good. Since he is the eldest, he is allowed to marry into his wife's wife. His wife's family gave her father and mother 5 taels of silver. His wife is very good and has given birth to a child for him. Now he and his wife's home is his home. Everyone was whispering, and some of the words were very touching. Zhang Ziluo knows that this is the thinking of this era. Those who get married are looked down upon by others. She looked at the man whose head was too low to lift up, and could only say, "Brother, you can go to the Kui family in Donghe village to find us later." Mrs. Kui also sighed, "Young man, don't care what others say." Fan Cheng looked at Zhang Ziluo and Mrs. Kui gratefully and nodded. Hurry and left without staying any longer. Mrs. Kui asked in a low voice, "Ziluo, do you really want to sell the leek seeds to him?" Mrs. Kui knows that Ziluo is kind-hearted, but if others know how to grow leeks, then they won't be able to sell leek boxes. Zhang Ziluo said, "Mom, I thought about it, we can't always be in the leek box business. It's better to sell leek seeds. The leeks we have in the field have been harvested for 3 crops, and we can keep the leek seeds to grow. Selling these leek seeds will also make money. Selling it in small packages can make a lot of money." Mrs. Kui knew as soon as she heard this that Zhang Ziluo had a plan in mind. "You are still thoughtful." Zhang Ziluo said, "I haven't thought of this method before, but just now that person asked about leek seeds, I suddenly thought of this method. Let everyone grow leeks, and Zhang Ziluo will not lose anything. Besides, after making chili con carne, she no longer planned to make chive boxes." At half noon, there were more and more people. Everyone buys a lot of leeks and pot helmets. Especially at noon, many people will buy something to eat at the market to fill their stomachs before they finish shopping. There were also a few women from Donghe village who came to the market, so they could see what the Kui family was doing. It turns out these are 2 kinds of food, they smell delicious. Only then did everyone understand why the Kui family had money to pay wages. "This thing looks delicious. Haven't you seen so many people buying it? Business is indeed good." Fortunately, Zhang Ziluo made quite a lot of leek boxes and pot helmets. After noon, the leek boxes and pot helmets made by Zhang Ziluo and Mrs. Kui early in the morning were fried and sold out. Mrs. Kui said happily, "Ziluo, I sold them all and made more than 3,000 yuan. More than 3,000 yuan is equivalent to 3 taels of silver. It's just that I'm a little tired and have done too much." Zhang Ziluo said, "Mom, just do this occasionally. Doing so much every day will make you tired." There was no leisure at all. Zhang Ziluo's hands were a little sore, let alone Mrs. Kui. "Yes, I have prepared a lot today." Although they were a little tired, they were happy to have made money. Let's not talk about them, just look at the expressions of some of the vendors around them, they all have smiles on their faces. There are many people going to the market in Yanglia village. Even if each item makes a little profit, the more it is sold, the more it will be earned. After closing the stall, Mrs. Kui looked at the stall while Zhang Ziluo went to buy some meat and cloth. Mom, I bought some cotton cloth and went home to make clothes for you and Hejin. Mrs. Kui stretched out her hand and gently touched the cotton cloth, sighing. As the legitimate daughter of the Kui family and later as the duke's wife of the Kui family, all she wore was silk and satin. Now when she reaches out and touches the cotton, she feels it is very good. Cotton is so expensive, just buy some linen. Zhang Ziluo shook her head and said, that's okay, cotton is comfortable to wear. Besides, now that we have money in hand, we still need to buy the things we need to buy. Zhang Ziluo couldn't bear to let Kui Hejin wear coarse linen clothes anymore. Even if Kui Hejin could look dignified in linen clothes, she was reluctant to let him continue to wear linen clothes. Go home and measure the size of Kui Hejin and Mrs. Kui, and then you can take the time to make clothes. In the next few days, Mrs. Kui and Zhang Ziluo went to the town to set up stalls selling pot helmets, earning more than 1 tael of silver every day. Including braised pig sewage, it adds up to almost 3 taels of silver a day. But the people who built the houses also had to pay for their labor, so they were reluctant to buy more things. Buy only necessities. The food is also better. While busy doing business, Zhang Ziluo also made the black bean sauce and continued to steam and dry the suilihong. Looking at the cooked tempeh, Zhang Ziluo said happily, Mom, now we can make chili meat sauce. Zhang Ziluo had been talking about making chili meat sauce before, and Mrs. Kui didn't quite understand. Just knew that Ziluo had prepared some condiments in advance. Can we do it now? Zhang Ziluo said, well, everything is ready, we can make chili meat sauce. When Mrs. Kui heard about the meat sauce that could be mixed with rice, she was very curious and eager to try it. Mom, I will give you a piece. Mrs. Kui also likes to accompany Zhang Ziluo to do whatever Zhang Ziluo wants to do. Watching the delicious food being made step by step, I feel an indescribable sense of accomplishment. Zhang Ziluo looked at Mrs. Kui's expectant look and said with a smile, Mom, wash the black bean sauce twice and steam it in a pot for a while. Good. Mrs. Kui said and went to steam tempeh. Zhang Ziluo started to cut the meat, and cut the onions, and garlic. The shiitake mushrooms picked from the mountains are also cut into pieces. The sesame seeds have been roasted in advance, and the peanuts have also been roasted and crushed for later use. After everything was done, Zhang Ziluo picked up another pot, put oil in it, and prepared to fry. Mrs. Kui said, the black bean sauce is steamed. I'll help burn the firewood here first. Zhang Ziluo nodded, then put in the green onions cut into long sections and some spices and stir-fried until the aroma was released. When it's almost done, take out the spices and set them aside, keeping the oil at the bottom of the pot. The oil stir-fried in this way will be more fragrant with spices. Mrs. Kui took a gentle breath and was filled with fragrance. Just with this fragrance, the stir-fried vegetables and rice will be delicious. Zhang Ziluo thought of the taste of chili meat sauce and said, Mom, if you make chili meat sauce, you can put it on stir-fried vegetables and rice, and it will be delicious even with steamed buns as a staple food. Mrs. Kui looked at the chili peppers Zhang Ziluo put aside and asked, isn't it very spicy? Zhang Ziluo smiled and explained, Mom, just make it slightly spicy so that your husband can eat it too. She knew that Kui Hejin didn't like spicy food. But he will eat the rice she cooks, seasoned with a slight spiciness. Even if he didn't adapt to it at first, he gradually adapted to it. Later, the food she cooked was less spicy, and he seemed to eat very lightly. End of chapter.